So welcome everybody to the Tilt webinar on the 30th of April 2020. It is our absolute pleasure this evening to be having the lovely Samantha Broom talking all about Google for Education, sharing some top tips around using Google Drive, Google Classroom, Google Slides and other Google tips. Sam is a teacher of Spanish and French, head of department up in the north of England. And I've known Sam personally for many years, and she's a lovely person. And I think we're going to have an amazing session tonight, full of lots of top tips around using Google tools. Appropriate if you're in a G Suite school, but also if you're a fan of Google tools. In any case, there'll be lots and lots of ideas to learn from Sam this evening. So I'd officially like to thank myself for coordinating this talk. And if you haven't heard of the MFL Twitterati, please do follow the hashtag on Twitter. We'd also like to thank Linguascope for supporting the Tilt webinars and for supporting the Association for Language Learning for many, many years. It's an absolute pleasure that Stefan and the team have always been so positive to us and to language teachers in general. And that's a wonderful thing. And we'd also like to thank Heike Philp, who has certainly facilitated lots and lots of support and help towards the running of these webinars, not just the Tilt webinars, but for many years with the Association for Language Learning, the London branch, using Adobe Connect and now using Zoom. And that's very much appreciated. As I've mentioned already, Association for Language Learning are supporting and are organising these webinars. They are completely free of charge. The recordings of the webinars are available on my YouTube channel. If you search for Joe Dale 100, you will find it, and all the details of all the webinars, past and present, are available on the ALL London website. So we really seriously encourage you to join the association. It is and we'd like to know in the chat as well. Thank you, Helen. We'd like to know in the chat as well who is already a member. If you aren't a member, we would encourage you to join. You are getting lots and lots and lots of CPD completely for free. So we would very much encourage you to join in order to connect with other language teachers from around the UK and to improve your own professional development. As I mentioned already, the webinars past and present are available to check out on the ALL London website. You've got the link there. So if you want to find out about the future ones we're coming up in the next few days, the next couple of weeks, then all the information can be found there. And to finish off with the introduction, I'd like to again give a warm welcome to Samantha, who's going to be talking about lots and lots of different ideas around Google. As we mentioned already, if you do want to ask a question, can you please put a Q in the chat so it's very clear to me. What I've got is I've got another Google Doc open, and I'm going to be copying and pasting the questions. If it's a burning question and Samantha's not in full flow, I may ask that, but all the other questions we'll deal with at the end. So Samantha has a lot to get through, and therefore we felt that that was the best way to go. And so if you want to put a question, please do put a Q at the beginning. And so now, without further ado, over to Samantha to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Right, so the first thing I need to do is share my screen with you. So hopefully this will work. Are we good, Joe?
All good, yep.
Fabulous. So first things first. So I will start at the very beginning of all of this, how to even open up Google, how to log in, how to make sure you're in the right place. So I'm here at google.com, and you can see at the top right hand corner that there's a little lovely picture of me because I have logged in to my browser, which is Chrome, which is made by Google, so it makes sense to use it because it talks to each other. Once I've logged in up here, so if I click on it, I can see that I am logged in, and if you're not, then you can log in there. I normally at school would log in with my school account, and then everything for school gets saved and my bookmarks, etc. along the top, whereas this is my personal account. And then you can also see that just below that I'm logged in again, and it's saying that I'm logged into my Gmail account. So I've had to use my personal account to show you how everything works, because I don't really want to give away all my school information. So this is mine. So first things first, you've logged into your Chrome browser, and obviously this is just Google. You can search for anything, but the two most interesting features right now is this waffle up here for apps, which I'm going to click on, and it takes me to some of the most essential places that I'd want to go. Web Store, YouTube, Docs, Drive, etc. The other place that I might like, if I go back a page, right next to my name, I've got the waffle again, but it's not multicolored, and there I can get to all of my different apps. And if I wanted to go directly to Classroom, I could find the link there, or Google. I'll start off by talking about Google Drive. So I've just automatically clicked on my bookmark there because I'm so used to having it, but I could have found it through either of those waffles. And this is my Google Drive. Now, it's my personal one, and I tend to use some other storage places. So this one isn't very organized, but you can have all sorts of different folders. You can see that I've got some shared folders from other people. These are Spanish resources kindly shared by other colleagues. I've been able to do things like change the color of the folders just to make it more visually appealing. And the little person icon means that it's shared with me. And if I fancied sharing, say, this teaching resources file, I can right click, get shareable link, and I can just turn link sharing on. And it's going to give me various bits of information, different links, and when I click out of it, a little person appears. So now I know that link sharing is on there, and I can do the reverse to turn it off. Organize your drive however you like, but I would have a resources folder, an admin folder, etc. The other thing that you can't see on this platform, because it's my school account, because it's my personal account, is that on my school one I also have a shared drive here, which I created for my faculty and threw in every single resource that we've got on our OneDrive, because actually we were using Microsoft for all of our admin and everything before lockdown happened. So I've just put all of our resources in for our subjects over there, and also our admin, and that's made it a lot easier. So you could create a shared drive within your department and share your resources that way, rather than worrying about your own drive. The other thing that you'll notice is I have a file called Classroom. Now in a minute I'll explain how I set up my Classroom. That is made automatically, and the first thing I need to say is don't touch it. Don't delete it by accident, don't worry about it at all. But just so that you can see, when I created the class that I was going to use for this test run, it automatically created that class for me, and it's automatically sharing with whoever it needs to share with. And I've made a couple of test lessons. So if I open it up, my test lessons are automatically there. And if I really wanted to go, this is almost like the back end, and I could go and see what's going on. But bottom line is, leave it well alone. So that's Google Drive. You can click new and create new folders. You can upload files. You can add create a new doc, sheet, slides, which are the equivalent of obviously Word, Excel, PowerPoint. There's other ones as well, such as forms and drawings, which are probably the two others that I use the most. The only other thing I'd say about with Drive, if you're someone that's made everything on your computer, or it's on a pen drive somewhere, or it's all Microsoft, before you bring over your resources, just click on this settings cog and go to settings, and this bit here, top tip, just click that, so that anything that you pull in automatically goes into a Google version, and then you don't need to worry about formatting, because if you try and add a Word document or a real PowerPoint into Google Classroom, it doesn't talk very well to each other. You want a Google Slides or a Google Docs. Okay, so that's Drive. So the next thing then is going to be Google Classroom. So an easy way to get to it would be the waffle. I've already got it ready to go up here, and I've created us a little classroom. If you don't know how to set up a Google Classroom, this would be blank. And all you need to do is click the plus symbol, and you're either joining a class or creating a class. So as a teacher, you're probably going to create. You can give it a name, give it personal information such as the location of it, the subject, etc. And if you wanted to join a classroom, you could have a classroom full of colleagues where you share CPD tips like we do in my school, or you could simply just want to have the ones for your students. So I've set this one up earlier, bit of Blue Peter, and I'm going to go into it so I can show you what I've got. So I've created my classroom, and you can see that I've started to play around with this and make it a little bit more visually appealing, which I'll explain in a minute. When your Google Class is set up for the first time, it has a joining code here, which I could display quite large in a classroom. I could copy and paste it into the platform that we use to communicate with parents. Alternatively, I could click on People right there at the top, And look, this is the first time I've actually gone into people, so it's actually highlighting to me what I can do. So I have created a test student account so that we can see what it looks like from the student end. I could add students by clicking that symbol there and typing in their email address. Or I could even add colleagues. Maybe there's a co-teacher, you share the class, maybe somebody higher up than you would like to be a teacher in there as well, then that's quite useful. I'm just going to go back to the stream, which is the name of the front page. And before I get started, the first thing I like to do is actually just check the settings. So you can see here that I've got various bits filled in. So the room's my lounge, it's languages, there's the class code, which I can reset if I want to. The stream, do I want students to be able to post and comment? So normally in school I'd have all of that turned off and only teachers can post or comment, but with the current situation actually I want it on. I want the students to be able to communicate with me and with each other. I think it's very useful. And this is the main one, classwork on the stream. I want to hide notifications. If you think about the stream as the front page, you don't want it to be busy. You don't want it to be full of information that the kids feel overwhelmed and they don't know what they're looking at. So hide all notifications. So anytime you set a task, it doesn't pop up there. Your tasks will always stay in classwork, which I'll make very clear. And that's probably it. I wouldn't play around with very much else at the minute. So if I've changed anything, I'd click save, and that's my stream sorted. So you can see here, my stream is very clear. There's nothing in there, but maybe I'd like to leave a message. It's for everybody. Hi, everyone. Hope you are safe. Drop me a message telling me about, I don't know, your latest read, and then I can post it. If I want to attach anything, I can, and then that will be in my stream. That is not a task. That is not something useful for supporting their learning. It is communication on its most basic level. So that's the stream. I'll just show you what it looks like from a student perspective. So I've logged in here as the only student, and there we go, my message has appeared. Fabulous, it does look very similar. Right, back to my classroom. So now I want to set a task. It is quite straightforward, but I think there's some key features that it's just worth being aware of. So I've already begun to tidy mine up and organize it how I would like. So you want to set a task, you click create, and there's a few different things you can do. So the most basic one is assignment, where you would get a little text box and you can type in it and say all the different things that you would like a class to do, attach things, etc. If you're wanting to set a quiz or a form that they fill in, then you can click quiz assignment, and it automatically attaches a blank form ready for you to work with. You might like to add a question where students can respond to a poll, or they could write a short answer. If you want to add something that doesn't have a grade on it, then use this one, material. And if you've already posted a lesson in another class, or maybe this time last year, and you want to set the same thing, you can click reuse post and you can search through and find a new one. So I'm going to create an assignment. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to give it a title. Now I've begun to give my titles numbers so that when I'm looking through a stream of information, I can see the chronological order of what I'm setting. So I'm going to call this 01, no, I think it's probably about lesson 4 that I'm setting, live test, and my instructions are going to be X, Y, and Z, and then I can add various different things. Now this is where our Google Drive is so important. So because we've got all of our Google Drive resources sitting right there in their Google versions, I can now attach them. If it's something I've been playing with recently, so creating it in the last half an hour or so, or even beyond, I can see various resources and I can just choose to add them. So I'm actually going to add this lesson on Donde Vives, and I want them to each have their own copy, because I've created that slide so that it works like a digital worksheet. It's a hyperdoc. They can click on different things and they can work through it. So I'm going to click and make a copy for each student. If it's just resources that I want them to be able to see, or it's a PDF, then it might be more appropriate to say that they can view the file. It's highly likely I don't want them to edit the file, because that would mean that every child in this class would have access to that file and could edit it. Now that might be really useful, but for me, that's probably not what I need. Then we're going to have a look over here on the right hand side. So do I want it for this class? Yes. All students? Yes. Now it could well be, oh, someone's joined my class, hi. It could well be that I just want to send it to my test student. Maybe it's a differentiated version, maybe it's a foundation or a higher version. I could choose the students I want to send it to. I can change what I want it to get a score out of. Now, I've actually started to just grade mine out of 9. 1 to 9 scale. In my school, that's part of our marking policy that we use 1 to 9, and it works quite well. Alternative versions I've seen, obviously you could leave it as 100%. You could do a 0 or a 1 for simply complete or not complete. And then always set a due date. The reason for that will become clear later when I talk about the to-do section, and that makes it very organised for you. And also set a topic. Now, by topic, when I first saw that, I was putting in things like food and house and home, and I just realised that it was making it more complicated. So I scaled it right back, and I've simply got previous work, current class work, and in my real school ones, I've also got an enrichment category there as well. So this work is going to go in the current class work, and it's going to be due tomorrow. And I'm not going to be fussed about the time, but I want to post it tomorrow. So I've just clicked, I'll do that again, on the drop down of the assign. If I click assign, it posts it right now live. It might be okay. But if it's 10 o'clock at night, because that's the only time I can plan, then it might be better to set it for 9 o'clock the next morning so I could schedule it. And at that point, I can choose my date and time. Tomorrow 8 o'clock, absolutely fine. And tomorrow morning, at roughly that time, it will ping out. So it's now taken me back to our classwork page. You can see I was playing around with a few things before, and they've saved them as drafts. If I want to delete them, then I can just do that. The best thing about Google is you can't break it. You can delete something, but it's not a big deal because you can just put it back again. So get rid of those drafts. There's my scheduled one for tomorrow. This one's due tomorrow, and I can see exactly what's going on. I can drag these very easily so that when that test assignment that I've set up has been completed, then I can just move it down there so I'm not worrying about it. Or I could just move it back up if I've changed my mind. And the students will see something similar. So I'm going to my student page now. I'm going to click on classwork. And I can see everything that I need to do for my teacher. And if I prefer, I could click on current classwork, and it takes me just to current classwork. I'm just going to go back to all, and I'm going to look at this test assignment that I've got to do. So there's my instructions. It's quite nice to see what the students see. I'm going to view the assignment, and it says open the attached, complete the task, submit it. So I have submitted it to myself already to see if this would work. That's why it says resubmit. And I've marked it and given myself a comment, but actually I've still got something to do. So I can open it up. Because it's Google, it all talks to each other. Here's a lesson on Donde Vives. I've got various things to do, and I can scroll through, check what I need to do, complete what I need to, close it down. I don't need to save anything, because the wonder of Google is that it automatically saves over in my Google Drive, and that will be in the folder for that assignment. And then I can click resubmit. If there's something else I'd like to add, maybe I've actually done my work in my book or on some paper because I've not been able to access the computer properly, or I was working from my phone, I can click add or create, and then it pings back to the teacher. So I'm going to resubmit that, and we'll see what happens at the teacher end. So it confirms I'm turning it in. And then when I come back over here, that test assignment, there we go, one's been turned in and one's been assigned. So that lovely person that joined my classroom, you've got a test to do. And here now, as a teacher, I want to check this work. So you can see down the left-hand side, who's turned it in, who's had it assigned. And if I'd marked any, it would also have those that were marked, it would be right down at the bottom. So if I want to check this work, I'd click on it. And I see exactly what the student could see, plus down the right-hand side, a place to put the grade. So I've decided to keep the percentage, and I've gone for 95%, and I've given a comment of buen trabajo, good work. I'll talk through marking and using that a little bit more in a minute, but I just wanted you to see what it looked like from the student end. When you close it, this page can refresh, and we can see exactly what the instructions are. So I'm going back to the classwork column, and we can see all the different tasks and everything that needs to be completed. So I've got a couple of different types of things that I'll talk through in a moment, but before I move on, I've talked about people. The last one then is grades. So when a student completes a task, see, this is the first time I've accessed it on this username, so it's pointing out all of these different things. That task that I've marked is right there, and it's been resubmitted and I've sent it back. This one I haven't sent back yet, hence why it says draft, and our other student hasn't done anything at all yet, so I'll be waiting to mark their work. So that's my mark book, and over on the right hand side there is a cog. Where? There is normally a way to be able to download your mark book, which I can't quite see at the moment. But you can normally just download this as an Excel document. I'll make a note of that and double check how to do it. And it can pull it into a Google Sheet for you too. So those are the headings at the top. You'll notice that I've made my own little header. So Joe mentioned about making Bitmojis and thing at the very beginning of the session. You could do that. I actually stole this one from somewhere else because it was perfect. But all you need to do to create a header is to open a Google slide, make the size of the Google slide roughly the size of that, which I think Joe said was 800 by 100. I'll show you how to change the size of a page shortly. Make whatever you want your header to be, and then you save it as a PNG, and then you can upload a photo right here and then pop your photo in and whatever your image is to change it. You could just select a theme that Google already have, like that for example, and it will also change the colours of everything that's going on. There we go. And there it is, beautiful.
Sam, in the chat, Steve has said, I think you need to go into the actual assignment to download. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah. It's not a feature I've used massively yet because I've not needed to. All my grades are sitting there and I can look at them whenever I want. Let's have a quick look then. Let's go to an assignment. Oh, do you see how it's all gone orange because I've changed my theme? Is it this cog? There it is. Copy your grades to Google Sheets. It keeps it all within Google, or I could download them if I want them somewhere else. Thank you. Right, so that's Google Classroom, Whistle Stop Tour. Let's talk about docs and slides. So I'm going to go back to, oh no, wait, one more thing before I move on. One more thing. This is the most essential thing that I've learned to do. You only get this on a computer. You don't get this on a phone or an iPad, but this has been life-changing for me. When I first started setting work on Google Classroom for remote learning, it was getting very, very tricky to keep a hold of everything. All I need to do now is go to my to-do page, check my class, because I have about 40 different classes in mine because I'm also in as head of faculty for my team. And when I see that I'm down to a 0 or the date is so far in the past, I click on the 3 dots and I can mark it as reviewed, and it disappears off into this reviewed column over here. So my anxiety levels are not as high because I go to my to-do list and I can see who has turned stuff in, like what quantity of students, and then I can directly click on it and it takes me to where I need to go without navigating the classwork page, which is extremely useful. So that is why due dates are essential, because if you don't have a due date, it just appears here at the top, which can clutter up your stream quite a bit. The other thing to notice is that when I ran it as a student, if my assignments didn't have numbers in them, and I was talking about seeing that logical stream of lessons that I posted, they appeared in the same order that I posted them for students. So if I started to mess around the order, it might not have been very clear what they needed to do right now, particularly if the topic is, I don't know, a cultural topic and then something else is vocabulary. How do they know what they need to do first? So by having a really clear section as to what they need to do this week has been very, very useful. It's a tip I've picked from elsewhere. Right, Google Docs. So I just clicked on my waffle up there, Google Docs. It saves automatically. That's the first thing. I'm going to have a blank one because I'm going to do whatever I want with it. And I'm going to give this a title, and it will pick up my title automatically, and I don't need to worry about doing anything else. If I would like to save it somewhere specific, I can move it. So I might like it in my own drive, I might like it in another drive. I can choose exactly where I want it, and I can create all sorts of different things in there. I actually very rarely use just a plain blank document. I use hyperdocs, most of which I've stolen, magpied from other places. Hyperdocs.co is a great website where people started to talk about hyperdocs, which is very simply a more complex Word document where you can have lots of different links embedded in your Word doc. You could also have it as a slide and do the same type of thing there. This works very similarly to what you would be used to in Word, so changing your font, changing your size, bold, italic, etc. Your bullet points, all of that should be quite straightforward. Insert special characters is how you do things for languages. So if it's an E that you want, you could type in an E there. And if I want an E with a particular sort of accent on, I could find it. And if I'm struggling to find it, I could play around and actually draw my letter E with an accent on. And it should, oh, let's just remove that E. Oh, it really doesn't like the random arrow I've put in. You can just select it and then it pastes it in. I'm going to do that again. Insert special characters, E, one with an accent please, and there they are. And there we go, that's an easy way of doing accents. If you'd like a quicker way, there's something called Addons where you can get an add-on, and there is an add-on that you can get, I think it's called Easy Accents, that's quite useful for adding modern foreign language accents. So that's quite nice. You can insert images, tables, drawings, etc., all sorts of things like that. The other thing to talk to you about is this wonderful button down here called Explore. So if I click on it, it's basically a mini search engine. So let's say I'm making a lesson, I'll stick with Donde Vives, where do you live? And I want a picture of a house. Oops, I want a picture of a house just to tidy up what I'm doing, and nothing's complete, no worksheet's complete without an image of some sort. If I just want to search the web for facts rather than jumping out of my tab, then I can click images, and there's all sorts of things. Let's say I want that one because I'd much rather a clip-arty version. There it is. I can resize it and do what I want with it, and place images in through that. I could also search from my drive quite quickly and open something and steal from it and bring it in as well. So that's really handy and a little known feature of Google Drive.
Someone mentioned, sorry Sam, someone mentioned in the chat about you can use the Alt-GR for an accented E, can't you, as well, I think?
Yeah, I don't have a number pad on my laptop, so I never use alt codes, and I actually normally turn my keyboard to Spanish if I want to type in Spanish, because I know where the ñ is and things.
Sure, but the key to the right of the space bar is Alt-GR, so if you hold that down and then press the E key, for example, you'll get an QT.
Voila.
It's just another little tip, that's all, but yeah. Thanks.
Brilliant. Right, I'm gonna go back to our waffle and go to slides this time and have a bit more fun with slides. So I'm opening a new one, a blank one. And I said I wanted to show you how to resize the paper. So you don't have to use this as an actual PowerPoint, although you can do. You can play around with the background. You could change the image, you could change the color. You could just choose a theme, which are here down the right-hand side. So one that I used to use ages ago was this one, quite nice. And if you were using it as a PowerPoint in the classroom, then you can add transitions, animations, all those sorts of things. There's a couple of extra things you can do in slides that you can't do as easily in Google Docs. So page size, first of all. I just clicked File, scroll down to Page Setup, and this is where I'm going to customize the size of my screen. And hopefully I've got this right. 7.5 by 10 should give me, hopefully, something that looks a bit like A4. I'm just going to get rid of my layout, because I don't want anything there. I want to do my own thing with it, and I can start my lesson. I could insert a text box, I can have my header, I can play around with the font. I quite like that one, I want it a little bit bigger, and I can start playing around and making it look a little bit more appealing. And if I ever did in the future want to print this, it would work as A4, or I could create a task for a student there, and again play around with the font size, and then put a text box next to it where they could give a response. I might like to put the edge around it because otherwise they won't know it's there. Maybe I'd like to insert an icon to tell them to write. So I'm going to type in write icon, and I want an image for it. That one will do. So I'll drag it in there. It's going to be enormous, so I'll resize it and choose whatever image I like, and that's going to be to go in there. And if that's a bit small to work with, you can zoom in a little bit more so that you can just see what you're working with a little bit more. So what's popped up here is a link. So it's doing a really good thing, which is telling us where this has come from. The nice thing about Google is when you hover, it tells you exactly what everything does. I'm just going to remove that link. And actually, I'm going to right click and scroll down to link. I can't see properly. I can't see it, but I know that the shortcut code for adding a link is Control-K. And actually, when they click on that, I want them to go to, I don't know, wordreference.com. And Google is very clever, and it's picked up the website before I've even finished. And then the students, when they hover over it, will also see that link. And I might right next to it click on the link, for example. If you want to include an image for something, in Microsoft PowerPoint and Word, it's very easy to insert a clip of something that you can screenshot from somewhere else. But there is a snipping tool. You can just type in snip down in your search bar for your computer, or you can press on a normal computer the Windows Shift S, and it does this. It like grays out my screen. I'm not sure if you can see this or whether you just see my page that I'm working on, and I'm just gonna screen grab a bit, and then it's been pasted, and then I want to place it underneath so that kids could see that section of the textbook that I've been working on. So that is just a screenshot of something that was already on my page to make it easier, but I would take bits of a textbook, you know, reading or writing or something there. If you want to write something really long, you could insert you could insert by talking. Where is it? Tools voice typing. So it's not insert, tools voice typing. So I've decided that I've run out of energy and I want to talk in Spanish to it, and I want it to type what I'm saying. I click to speak. Just going to make sure my mouse is somewhere for it to go. There we go, in there. Wants to use my microphone. Allow. Hola, buenos dias. And it's typed it in down at the bottom because that's where my mouse ended up in the notes. I can just pull that out and put that where I want it. So that's quite a nifty little thing if you've got a lot to write. I mentioned accents that you could add in via an add-on. The other things that you can do are, we were talking about Bitmoji before. If you use Bitmoji, you can get the extension. So if you don't know what an extension is, when you go back to the Waffle and Web Store, you can get all sorts of add-ons or extensions. So I mentioned the Easy Accent one. Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. So I just want one for accent. So I'll have a quick look. I'll look at the ratings for them.
I think it's Easy Accents. There's an S on the end. That's why it didn't come up, Sam, I think.
Okay.
You put an S on the end. Should come up. No, S. Put an S on the end of accent. Oh, no, maybe. Oh.
Anyway, I could add this one. Okay. Take seconds to add it in, and there it is. It's been added to Chrome. Done. I get a little icon up here with an accent on it, and I'm going to go back to the document I've been working on. Just going to refresh that, because the nice thing about Drive is it remembers what I've been working on. So there's something that I was working on before, and my add-ons will now work. We've been talking quite a bit about, decided not to be there. Maybe it's only in the Word one. We talked quite a bit in our Google Facebook group about inserting audio, because as linguists we want the students to hear our voices. You can insert an audio file, but that audio file needs to be MP4 and saved in your Google Drive with the right share settings on there so that anybody with the link can hear it. Because the way Google works, I don't need to save anything because it automatically saves. I might like to just put it in a better place for myself. And then when I want to share this with a student, I'm going to go back to Google Classroom, classroom.google.com, and one of the most recent things I've made will be there. Classwork, create an assignment, and anything that I've been working on will be in recent. So it saves me so much time. There it is, and I can just pop it in and add it and create a new assignment that way. There is a beautiful share button up here. It's different colour depending on what app you're using, but if you wanted to share it with a colleague so that they knew where it was, you could click share and type in their email address. But you don't really want students to share a document with you when we're working remotely. You want them to upload it to Google Classroom. So I talked about marking work briefly.
Sam, I've just realised the issue with the easy accents is because it's an add-on, not a Chrome extension. So in slides or in docs, you go to add-on, get add-on, and then search for easy accents and it'll come up.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise there was a difference between add-ons and extensions.
There you go.
Easy accents, doc slide, so there it is. So you can just click on it and follow the same process to get this add-on. Right, marking work. Let's go back to where we are. I'm going to choose something that we've already seen. So I want to view the assignment. This has been the one that's turned in. And the easiest thing to do as you go through is to use the comment feature. So it's easier in Word because it puts it in as suggestions. This is a slide. So let's say this word was typed wrong. I want the comment button. It's not showing. I'm going to click on the three dots. There it is. That's what I want to add a comment, or Control-Alt-M as a shortcut code. Wrong person, wrong gender, whatever I want to write as a comment. And a student can then see these comments and can go through and check theirs. And then I might like to give a final comment here. Very good work. Try the challenge task. And I need to remember to post it. When I've done that, I can click return and it goes back to the student. If I click the drop down up here next to the name, I can see who else has had the work assigned to them. And if students have turned it in, it will be green and will say turned in. And I can click status, and those that have turned it in that I haven't marked will appear first. Then those that have resubmitted for me to check will appear. And then those that haven't done anything will have it just simply there as assigned. And as soon as I've marked more than one, this drop down here, I can return multiple submissions all at once. So I've marked 7 or 8 pieces of work this evening because that many students have completed it. I work through them one by one using these arrows, and then I can return them all at once there. There is a comment bank feature, which is this box here. It's not something I've made great use of because my comments have all been quite individual. Because I've not used this on this account before, it's talking me through different things. I can type a comment, add it to the bank, and then it's stored here for easy access, so I can just comment on it. I can click on it and pull it in. There's also a lovely extension called Mote, M-O-T-E, that allows you to add your voice as feedback or as a comment. And there is also a rubrics feature when you are setting a test that I was playing around with this week. So rubric for us would be the instructions for a task. In the American world of Google, it's mark scheme. So I thought, oh, this could be useful for a 16 marker or whatever. And I could create the rubric. So I just mocked this up very briefly, a 16 marker, 10 and 16. I could put in the criteria. I could write a lot more than that. And that was simply, if I edit the task, instructions. I'm going to edit it by clicking these three dots here. Remember, everything you can do, you can edit and change afterwards. Down here, rubric, I clicked on it and I just played around with it and managed to work through all sorts there to create a mark scheme. Now, I'm really conscious that there's around 5 minutes to go, and the main thing left for me to talk to you about is a form. So I said that if you wanted to create a form, that the best thing to do would be to choose the assignment, the quiz assignment option, which I have done in one of these. And see that one? It must be this one. So this is a quiz assignment, and it gave me a blank quiz, which I played around with and turned into a form. I've always made it that every question is required, because otherwise kids just don't do anything. And I've also always put made sure it collects their email address. You can add in videos, you can add in multiple choice questions, you can change the amount of points that each one is worth. You can have short answer questions typed in. I'm just trying to find some examples of that. There we go. Short answers there. And
Sam, you've still got 15 minutes, so it's okay. Don't worry, because we started about 10 past, quarter past 8. So don't worry. This is amazing. You've got lots of people saying lovely things in the chat. So don't worry. Don't panic.
I haven't even looked at the chat. I've just
it's all good. It's all good.
Through. Okay, so this is my form. I'm going to show you how I made it. So this little icon down here takes me to the editing page. So this is like the back end of the quiz. If you want to have a look in a bit more depth in your settings, you can automatically always collect email addresses, limit them to one response. Do you want them to be able to edit it after they've submitted it? In the presentation, do you want the questions to be shuffled, or is it okay that everybody gets the same thing? Do you want a progress bar? Do you want a message when they get to the end? And if it's a quiz, i.e. you want to assign points to it and allow it to auto grade, then this needs to be switched on. Do you want the students to get the grade after each submission, which would be fine if it's automatic, or do you want it later after you've checked maybe a longer answer? So you can play around with those settings and save whatever you need to save. This down the side here explains, when you hover over it, exactly what it does. Section just breaks up what you're doing a little bit more, and it's quite useful because it actually goes to a second page. You can add in videos. So that was just a YouTube video to remind them how to make the present tense, and then some very, very simple questions. Now, if I click on this, you can see now what it would look like. I chose a multiple choice. You could have all sorts of different options. It's quite clever, and if you started to type a question that had some very obvious answers like what's the capital of Spain, it would automatically ask you if you want to include Madrid. And then answer key down here is where you put your answer in. So I clicked answer key and I've clicked the correct answer. And if I want to add some further feedback, so if they get it wrong, remember that AR verbs end in blah, 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 whatever I want to say, or I could link to a video or to an external resource. So if they get it wrong, it gives them that feedback. I can change the points available. So I'm going to keep that as 1 point. I'll click done, and then I want to add another question. It could be I can duplicate the one I've done before it. If I go to my end one. Oh, sorry, click add question. Oh, that's the duplicate button down there. I can move these around by hovering over those 6 dots at the beginning, so I can move that to wherever I like. So I'm adding a question. I can add any more options to it. I could import some questions from somewhere else. I can add a title, and I can add some images as well. So it's very, very simple. I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't want it. Now, the next thing that's important to know is how to then share this with the students. So if you followed the process of Google Classroom, quiz assignment, it's given you a blank quiz that you've then created and you've changed the name, then it automatically connects it straight to that task. But let's say you just chose Google Forms and started to create one. You don't want to you don't want to share this URL up here with them. This is the editing URL. This is the back end URL. You want to send it. Now, your system might be set up so you can email in Gmail. but I don't want to email it to anybody. I want the link. So I click copy, and I can use that link. I could shorten it if I really want. And I can copy that link, and I can then paste that link back into, let's say, my presentation here. I just want to see that a bit better because my eyesight's poor. And hola, buenos dias. Answer the questions in this form. Now, I'm going to highlight this word. I'm going to go Control K because that's my shortcut to link something. And I'm going to paste my link, Control V, straight to my form, and it hyperlinks it. So I can click on it there. And that's how students would answer it. So if I click on it now, you'll see that it will take me straight to the form. Because I am an editor, it's giving me the edit option, but otherwise it's asking me to complete it. When I complete it, so I've had this set as a test. I have completed it as a student. I think it's because I'm using a personal version of this as opposed to my actual school one. But if the only thing I've linked to in this assignment is this Google form, then there's a wonderful little button up here that says import scores. And what's really nice is that I just click that button and all the scores immediately come in down here, including how many it's out of, which is fantastic. But if you add in other links, it doesn't work and you have to put it in manually. If you want to check the results, on this screen here, so this is the editing page, you've got this responses tab. You can see the total as well. I'm going to click on responses, and because I have answered this for the purposes of today, I can see the summary overall, that the average points, etc. are shown there. But really what I'm interested in the most is individual answers. So I've responded. The score was released to me when I completed this, but as I go through, I might change the marks because maybe, so when you self-assess it, when you put in the answers automatically, if it's not multiple choice, like down here at the bottom, I've deliberately got some wrong. Let me find them there. The answer was Amos, it should have been Emos. I put in 2 correct answers because students could say more than one thing, but sometimes they put capital letters, they put full stops. So you can go back through and say, actually, do you know what? That one is correct. I'm going to give you the point for that one. And then down here at the bottom, it wants me to save my edits, which I can do. Obviously, I know that's not right. And then I can release the score back to the students and update my spreadsheet. If I really want to, I can export all the scores to a sheet up here. And there's quite a lot of other little features in here that I can do. Print the responses. If the form has been finished with and I don't want anybody adding anything else to it, I can turn off accepting responses so nobody else can do it. And as soon as I close down making my form, it automatically attaches into my assignment, which is very, very nifty. And the final thing really for me is PDFs. So I've not got any examples because I didn't really want to use my own students' accounts. But lots of students are sending PDFs to me instead of their Google form or slides or whatever. And you can annotate it. When you receive a Google Doc and you add a comment, you've got that little comment button on the right-hand side. You can still have that comment button on a PDF, so you can highlight a word and then type and say what's wrong. I believe on a device you can annotate as well, particularly on an iPad with a pen, for example. There are some other tricks with PDFs that are quite funky. The first is that you can turn them into a Google Doc. So if you have a PDF uploaded to your Google Drive, you can right-click on it and say open as a Google Doc, and it pulls the entire text into a Google Doc, which is very cool and saves you typing out a load of stuff. A lot of people have PDF documents that they would use in their classroom and they'd print them and give them to students to work on. A workaround for that would be to save that PDF as a picture. So save it as a PNG or a JPEG, and then when you're in slides here and you want a background, so I just clicked on the outside of the area and background, and you can insert an image, and that image could be that PDF, and then that's quite nice. I've got an example of that here. So this is a resource in a folder from I don't know how long ago. This background now can't move because I inserted it. If I click background, choose image, I can then browse wherever I want to look, or it could be in my drive. And then I have popped in, I'm just going to make it that bit bigger, save my eyes. I've just popped in a text box where I want them to write their answer. So that's quite a nice way of reusing a resource that you might have. And the only other thing left to share with you is something called hyperdocs. So I talked about hyperdocs a little bit before. It's a document that looks quite interesting and is a little bit more visually friendly for the students. I've created some MFL versions which I've shared in the Facebook group, and I've learned so much from YouTube and other online resources, but this is a wonderful example of one for younger learners, where you give them instructions down one side and you ask them to complete tasks in the other. You can link directly to different things. Ask students to turn in their thing link here, so they have to paste it there. There's a QR code to get to some extra activity. So that's an example of how you could format a lesson a little bit more visually appealing. There's also PowerPoint versions. Just trying to see. This is another doc version. So it follows a particular sort of Americanized, more American structure, call to adventure, entering the unknown, meeting the mentor, transformation, and then mastery. So it's just breaking it down into different parts of the lesson, like introduction, reflection, etc. And so that's quite useful as well. I have learned the most through Facebook and sharing with other educators and watching what they do and then trying it myself. Like I said, you can't break Google. You really can't break Google. That's the best thing about it. And if you really think that you've deleted something, you shouldn't press Control-Z. YouTube is amazing. I don't need to make any resources to tell anybody how to do anything. I share what's already out there. So if you're wondering, oh, how do I make a hyperdoc? Search for it on YouTube and see what you come up with. And also the Google FAQs are pretty useful as well. If you just click help, you can type in whatever you're having a problem with. I couldn't remember how to add voice because I knew that it wasn't coming up under insert. So I just typed in voice and there it was, voice typing. And I didn't have to worry about it. I think actually that the search feature in Google is probably underused. If I know I've got a resource called Donde Vives, I can access it by simply clicking, or if I've got a file called teaching resources where I know where everything is, I can just click on it very, very, very quickly. Yeah, I think that's everything.
That's awesome, Sam. We've got a few questions, if that's okay.
Go for it.
So let me just bring them up. I've probably missed some as well, but these are all the ones I've written down. Okay, so question 1. I have just had a look on my account. I'm logged in on my school email, but I cannot see Google Classroom on the waffle, brackets, non-colored 1, close brackets, and I'm using Google Chrome as a browser. Any suggestions why that's not coming up?
Is that the coloured waffle?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the non-colored one, So that's so you got the waffle top left and the waffle top right.
This one here.
Yeah.
So where's my Google Classroom on it? Let me see if I can see mine. Yeah, mine's just down there. So if it's not showing, it's someone up in admin. So there's a higher level than all of us. That's probably in life, certainly in schools, and someone somewhere will have control over exactly what you can see, and also over extensions and things like that. They might not let you have access to certain things. So if your school, this is all for free, by the way, every single thing you see here is free. So if you have a school Gmail account and that's the system that you use, I have no idea why you wouldn't have Google Classroom. So it is there for me, and that's my free account, and it's there under my school one, but I imagine it has to be enabled.
Okay, thanks for that. So let's bring up the next question. I can see people are writing questions in while we're speaking.
Just
right.
wonder, may I interrupt you a minute and just say, because I can see that we've had an hour, and I know that sometimes people have to go at this point, and people really like to be able to say thank you ever so much to Samantha. So is it okay to say thank you, and then people can say that, and then we could have some questions, for as long as you can. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay, so thank you ever so much. So if people would like to open up their mics and clap, so because otherwise I realise that people go and they don't have a chance to say thank you. It was amazing, really incredible. And it's something we'll be able to watch afterwards and pause and copy. Really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks to everybody for coming. We totally understand if people have to leave us, but at the same time, as long as you're happy to be there, Sam and Joe will be happy there, I'm sure, to keep on answering the questions. That's great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Thanks, Sam. That's wonderful. Okay, we've had a look at hyperdocs. That's fine. That's covered. Right. In the comment bank, if you put a hashtag, it will show you previous sentences. Oh, so this is a comment from Kerry. In the comment bank, if you put a hashtag, it will show you previous sentences you have used. If you put a hashtag, then spelling, it will show you all your previous comments, which include the word spelling. There we are. I didn't know that. Next one. Is there a way to see the student's grade on a Google quiz, please? Or is it only for them to see? Thank you.
Okay, so if I go to the form that I made, just moving my camera and chat thing out of the way. So you know up here I said you've got the word responses, so there's just that one response, which was mine. I want to see the individual answer. I'm going to click individual, and all of the students that would have responded, it will all appear in a drop down there, and you can just scroll through, and then this bit down here will change. So obviously I'm an excellent Spanish speaker and I managed to score 36 out of 40. I made a few mistakes, but you could see exactly what every single student made there if you wanted to go through it individually. The beauty of this is if you've created something that is 100% right or wrong, multiple choice, and no room for error, you don't need to review it. You can just happily accept what their end score is. You don't even really want to review it if there could be issues with capitals, full stops getting in the way of them getting the point.
Lovely. That's excellent. Thank you so much. So next question. If you create a Google form or have created one previously, how do you make the marks appear in your grade section Google form?
You don't need to. It's already done, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Julie. Right. Sorry. I'm multitasking. I'm trying to, okay. No problem. Is it possible to show how to insert audio? What I put in the chat is to use the online voice recorder, which lets you record and edit audio and then upload it onto Drive and then insert it from there into slides. So you can't, unfortunately, at the moment, natively record in directly into slides.
It's not as easy as in PowerPoint, and when I've done it in PowerPoint and tried to pull it in here, it doesn't accept it. It doesn't recognize the audio files. It just pulls in the PowerPoint. So you have to recreate the audio, save it as an MP4, make sure it's saved somewhere in Google Drive, and then click wherever you are on slides or whatever, insert audio, and then find a file through your drives, and then you can add it that way. And it just creates a little icon that students can click on.
And you need to make sure it's shareable. Is that right? The audio has to be in a folder which is shareable, otherwise the students won't be able to see it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Right. Another question from Kerry. If you create a Google form or have created one previously, how do you make the marks appear in your grade section in Google Classroom?
Okay, so I can't do this on this version of my Google Classroom because it's been made with my personal account and it's not a school one. But so long as the only assignment I have put in here is a quiz, then normally just here where my mouse is, it says import grades, and I click it and it pulls in every single grade down the left-hand side for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Right. Wow. Got lots of questions. Right. Okay. You're all doing the question at the end. Right. Okay. So let me carry on. Okay. Yeah. Which Facebook group is best to join for Google? So I've written down in my notes. Teachers using Google. Hang on. Teachers using Google Suite. Hang on. Oh, teachers using Google Suite for Education. That's one, isn't it?
I'll tell you, so I'm in 3. I'm going to tell you all my secrets now as to how I find out stuff. So I've got, teachers using Google Classroom. That's quite American. So I set up one, which is Google Classroom for MFL teachers. And that's got over 1,000 members in, 2 weeks? And then I asked in the group whether it should stay as MFL specific, because this is not MFL specific. There are some little things that we like adding accents and adding audio. The vast majority said keep it as MFL. And then Darren White said, oh, there is already a UK one, but it's called G Suite, I think, for educators, something like that. Let me find it, Joe. G Suite UK teachers.
And there's also one that Darren runs called Support Staff Using G Suite. That's another one. Support Staff Using G Suite. Cool. Right. Should we do some more questions? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Right. I can see Google Forms in my school waffle, but it doesn't appear in my home Google. Any idea why not? All over extensions appear, or all other extensions appear.
So it's not appearing here in apps, but it's appearing.
I can see Google Forms in my school waffle, but it doesn't appear in my home Google. That doesn't make sense, does it?
What, I don't know what this person means by home Google.
I presume maybe this person's personal account, maybe. Could the person that's asked this question, could you maybe come on the mic and explain what you mean? Is that possible? While we're waiting for that, we've got a couple of other questions. Can you insert a sound file directly into a quiz? What I normally recommend is you put it onto YouTube and then insert it as an unlisted or private video.
So this quiz that I made, I put the link to Bite Size, because we all love a bit of Bite Size, and I put a link to this video. I had a conversation the other day with a colleague, and you could just put in your link to Caboodle or Active Learn as well. But what you can't do is embed the audio in here. You'd have to embed it as a video.
Okay. Bella suggested type in forms.new into the address bar. Yes, that works, as Darren was showing us before. So that docs.new, slides.new, forms.new, yeah, that should work for the person. But I don't see why they can't access Google Forms on their personal account. But anyway, okay, let's keep going. Okay, this is a good one. I'm thinking of using Google Classroom as a way to include some examples to show my trainees, but I don't have a Google for Education account. It's asked me to pay for a domain, but you can have a personal Google Classroom, can't you, with a personal account?
Well, yeah, I just set one up with mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when it first came out, you had to be a G Suite school, but then they changed it and made it possible a few years ago. So you could have a personal account to make a classroom. So if you're doing like a course or what have you, you could create a classroom to share resources. I think that's everything. Let's just double check. Let's double check. I think that's everything. Just because I was obviously looking at the chat, have you shown how to record audio and put it into Drive and then insert it into slides?
I haven't, because it's actually a bit more complicated than that. So the only time I've tried to do this, I use my phone to record because it's there and it's easy. But then it recorded it as an MP3 or a .wav file because I just used the native app on my iPhone, and then I had to faff around with converting it. So an app that could be good that automatically you can do it as an MP3 is Voice Record Pro.
Yeah.
And then from there you can directly save into your Google Drive, so you're not having to email it to yourself or anything. You can directly save it from that app, and then you can navigate to it and insert it, as I said. But it was a bit of a headache for me when I've done it, so I've avoided it and just provided links to external sources. But I imagine Moat could provide some sort of audio as well, Joe, don't you think?
Yeah, so Moat, for those people who haven't seen Moat before, you basically install the extension, and then it means that when you launch the comment box in Slides, Docs and Classroom, then the little Moat icon should appear. And if you then click on that, you can record for up to 60 seconds per recording, and it automatically generates a transcript, only in English, annoyingly, but hopefully they'll introduce other languages in the future. I mean, what I've done personally is I've used on my Chromebook, there's a Chrome app called Chrome MP3 Space Recorder, which works really well, but that's on a Chromebook. And then there's also the online voice recorder, which I put in the chat, which lets you record and then top and tail, i.e. edit the beginning and the end of the audio, save it to your desktop or wherever you want to save it, and then upload it to Drive. And then what I do is I go to Google Slides, click on Insert Audio, and then you click on the Recents tab, and then the audio will be there in Drive for you. Then you just click on it and it inserts it straight in.
Try the file say on the languages.
So I've just stopped sharing my screen so I can log into my school Gmail and just show you some of my funkier lessons. So I'm just going to find that, and then it'll help people visualize what a Word document or a Google Doc or a Google slide can look like when you're creating a lesson. And I have shared these on the Facebook group before. So I'm just finding a slide and hopefully I can share my screen. I've lost my toolbar, Joe.
It should be at the top.
Oh, there we are. Share screen. Right. So this is one of my hyperdocs. I stole the template from somewhere else and made it work for me in MFL. So I send this to children, and I had a really lovely complimentary email from a parent today saying, thank you, the way that you've laid this out has really supported my child's learning. So in languages, the flow of our learning can go however we like. The home button will link straight back home all the time, and I've put a challenge in at the end. So there's a video there that's linked externally, so when they click on it, I've put a link to Quizlet, I've put a listening activity where they link to Caboodle.
Oh. Okay, can we mute our audio, please? The person that's making that sound, please.
Wonderful, wonderful singing. And then towards the end, I want them to do a writing task, and there's some success criteria, and there's a challenge where they can do something in Flipgrid. That I've used with older students, or simpler versions with the younger ones. And then I've also got this version that you can see looks quite similar to the Thing Link Animal one I showed you. So I've put in a task on the left and a place to write their answers, and then a place to self-assess and write their scores in. Saves on my marking massively. Want them to revise something there and then write their translations in there. They can self-assess. And that just provides a really nice flow of learning that a lot of students have engaged quite well with, and makes it very, very easy to mark.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got a few more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Right, so, right, do you typically list the stages of your lesson with the resources in the classwork section for every lesson at the moment?
So 6 weeks ago, I was typing into the text box, do this, go to page this, then click on that. And then about 4 weeks ago, I went, hang on a minute, I know Google can do more than this, let's make this more interesting, and began to dive back into the research of hyperdocs, which I did about 4 years ago. But things happen and focuses change, and I just stopped doing it. And so now, yeah, I do. I change. I like colours and things, so that's why the different pages of my slides are different colours for different sorts of activities. And yeah, I taught them through the entire lesson. And if you join any of the other Facebook groups and you see what other teachers create, you've got primary school teachers that might have 3 different lessons a day, and they make these beautiful like front pages of Google Slides with Monday's work, Tuesday's work, Wednesday's work, and then directly link them to each of those days. It's amazing what you can do with them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Someone's asked whether it would be possible for you to show how to annotate work, but presumably you would need to use the Google Classroom app to do that, and then you'd have to share your
share my screen again. So
yeah.
Okay, let me go back to my fake one and a test assignment, and then I'll share my screen again. Just trying to find one that's a Word document because it's easier. Oh, I've done them all as slides. That's annoying. Okay, right, I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me. Every time I stop sharing my screen, I lose it again. Right, there it is. Share screen. Where are we? Test assignment 3. Share. Okay, so this student has handed in their work. Because it's a Google slide, it's doesn't automatically appear, but normally you have a little floating comment button. This button here floats here. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit more. And I want to correct this spelling. I'm going to highlight that word, and I'm going to select my comment button. And it's just there, can you see? and I might type in the correction. I might write spelling, and it should have been actually by law. I know it's not, but that's what I want to say, and I pop it as a comment. And then if I just go like that, a student will see that, they can reply to it, and they can click it as resolved when it's done. And that's a feature that's quite useful in Google Docs as well.
Awesome, but you don't have the Mote extension installed on your personal account?
No, because I never use my personal account. Everything is logged in under my other one, and it was doing those weird things the other day. Do you remember?
Yeah. That's right. Right.
Yeah, kept it out for now.
So someone said, can you show us again how to get a PDF as a picture onto a slide? So that's just saving the picture as a background, isn't it?
Yeah. So if I go to this test assignment with image in the background, in fact, I'll just start a new one. New presentation. I'm going to change the size of my page. Now I've got to remember what I need to change it to. 7.5 by 10, just so that it goes to A4. I just want to get rid of that layout that's there, because the kids will see what I can see. So get rid, and then I'm going to go to background, choose image. So goodness knows what I've got in my Google Drive as images. Nothing inappropriate. There's definitely some worksheets in here, because there's all sorts of teaching resources folders that I'm part of. Something from MFL Teachers Lounge, another wonderful group. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to call it Vacaciones, because I know that I've got a worksheet called Vacaciones, and it's going to be easier to search. Of course, there's nothing there. Maybe it's Addons. Of course not. Addons.
Could you put in .png or something like that? I suppose that would just bring up all images, so you wouldn't necessarily want to...
Do you know what? I remember thinking, oh, crikey, it's not letting me get a PDF in. I can't just ping in a PDF. I needed to save the Word document as a picture.
Right. Or Google image search as well. You could just do a Google image search and find an image, maybe.
Absolutely. So let's say I want... Right, let's say I'm going to just take this as a picture. So that snipping tool that we talked about, I'm just going to make that probably don't want to get much bigger. So that's the Windows key, Shift S, and that's native to Microsoft computers. I don't know what it is on Macs, etc. And then I can just pull in my screenshot of what I want. It's actually going to pull in the toolbar for Zoom in my copy. And that's now saved to my clipboard as an image, and I can click on it and save it. Oh, I've just made it disappear. So I can search for the snipping tool, and it will be in there waiting for me. And if it's not, I'm just going to do it again.
So I think we can't see the snipping tool, but we get the idea. That's fine.
Okay, so then once I've snipped it, I can right click and save it. And I'm just going to save it. Oh yes, look there, I've already got one as a background. Addons background, it's there. So I have these backgrounds already saved, and I click on background in slides, choose my image, and it's going to be from my computer, the browse, and it is in my pictures, and I've got various things. There's my background. Done. There you go.
Fantastic, thank you. That's great. Hopefully that's clear for everybody now. So I think we'll wrap up now. That's all the questions. You've done an amazing job, Sam, in going through Google Docs, slides, and Drive, Classroom, everything. And I've learned some new things as well, which has just been absolutely fabulous. So I know we've had a big round of applause for Sam as well, but let's all come back onto the turn our webcams on, unmute our mics, and give Sam a final round of applause. And we look forward to checking out your Facebook group as well, which I've been on ever since it started, I think, and it's amazing. And yeah, thanks again. It's been really, really interesting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Take a little class. I'd like to take a class photo. People could put their webcams on. That'd be brilliant. Side. I'll just take my grubby sweatshirt off. You're amazing, Sam. Oh, absolutely fantastic. So much there. So I'll wait a little while so that people get themselves. I think we should be able to get all 42 on the screen there, which would be great. So don't be shy.
Oh, sorry, I need to turn my video on. There we are.
Yes. You are brighter than anybody else, Joe. Do you realise that?
Well, I'll turn off my. Hang on.
Oh,
I will.
No, don't. It's
No.
great.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just need a little halo, I think, on the top. You just.
No.
All right. So I'm about to take a photo. Here goes. 1, 2, 3. Smile, and I will do another one afterwards. I think everybody. I'm just thinking, is there anybody who's not looking? No, I think you're all looking lovely. Sam, you had your eyes closed, Samia. Right,
No,
do it again. I'm particularly watching Samia now. Okay, here goes. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, really, really open-eyed then, Samia.
Brilliant.
As was everybody else. Oh, that's lovely. It's a lovely photo. Great. Very, very good. Gosh.
Lovely. So we normally take this point. Who's coming up
Can we
next?
clap one more time? Because I really want to clap.
Yeah.
Awesome.
By the way, everybody, if you didn't notice, didn't hear her.
Thank you.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, Joe, at this point also, I always say thank you at this point also to Joe, who's just gathered everybody together here and knows everyone. So, really.
So the next Tilt webinar is on Monday, the 4th of May, with Jennifer Wozniak.
And I'm going to say that particular, although, yes, I mean, it is about grammar, so it's not necessarily technology. It'll be more general than that, but I'm sure everybody will still be interested. We've certainly got a lot of people. I really am going to try to sort out live streaming for that as well. We'll see. Awesome.
And then the following week, we've got Natalie Campbell, who is going to be talking about Showbee and all the ways you can use Showbee, particularly for speaking, listening, and annotating PDFs with little audio sound spots and things like that, which is really cool. And
what date is that going to be?
That's the 12th of May. So we've only got one next week, but who knows? We might add another
yes,
one.
can I just say there may possibly be one on Thursday because the Institut Français would like to tell us what there is available in French. I know that later on we've got the Goethe Institute. They're going to be contributing, but so that could be happening on Thursday.
Fantastic. And then on the 14th of May, we've got Paco Fernandez, who was in the room. I'm not sure if Paco's still here, who's going to be talking about the use of music in the languages classroom as well. I believe that is right, isn't it, Helen? Yeah. There we are. So
No. I have to announce that Joe Dale is presenting at the virtual roundtable on Saturday morning. What did we say? What time?
10:15 till 11 o'clock BST.
That's it. 10:15. You can hear the great Joe Dale.
Okay.
We'll advertise that amongst our circle as well. And the other thing is just to say, I've had quite a few people saying they'd like to have another show and tell. So I think for us to, a couple of weeks' time, something like that, it'd be nice to give people an opportunity to share what they've been doing. So
are we going to receive emails with all of these activities that are happening?
Right. So basically, you just need to go onto the ALL London page or the webinars page, which was advertised at the beginning, and then you'll see all the events that are coming up. And then for those people that have registered, you'll then get a message just as a reminder that a webinar is happening. But the main place to go is go on the ALL London website on the webinars page, and then you'll find out all the forthcoming webinars. So that's the place to go, I would say, and Twitter as well, obviously. But the main place is the ALL London website. I've just put it down in the chat. So that's where we've put, and I think I said wrongly at the last one. I said, I think this is the 41st webinar. I think we're up to about 51 now, aren't we? Something like that. There we are. We've done quite a lot recently. 54 was the last. This is our 55th. Wow, there we are. 55th. You couldn't say that with a mouthful of beer, could you? No, 55th. No. Can't say it at all, actually. My age. Okay, cool. Well, lovely to see everybody. We're going to stop the recording now, I would imagine.
Yes,
and then now I've got the Camtasia again. I can spend the rest of the evening editing, no doubt, and then hopefully get it up onto YouTube tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning.
Right, I'm stopping it now.